In my continuous journey to get more and more analog, I've been looking at watches. I'm not a watch enthusiast. This is brand new territory for me. I'm told it's a dangerous territory to get into the habit of looking at watches, or the hobby of looking at watches, and realizing that the options, much like fountain pens and stationery, are absolutely endless. Regardless, I did end up picking up a Timex Expedition watch, and one of the reasons I was gravitating towards an analog watch in particular was because I wanted to stop relying on my phone so much and looking at my phone so much when it came to just simple things like checking the time and the date. So it was really important to me to look at getting an analog watch. Ideally one that was mechanical, one that fit within a budget of about $150, and one that had a little bit of a date window or a date stamp inside of it as well, and could take a bashing. This is going to be a review of the Timex Expedition Field Post watch, and I'm going to tell you about why I like this watch and ultimately why I am ending up passing on the watch as well. This is the Timex Expedition Field Post North Edition. I think it's some combination of those words, but it is definitely a Timex watch. I'm not a big watch guy, so bear with me as I do this review. But as I said, it really resonates with me from the perspective of just switching to as much analog as I possibly can in my life. I think I just really like the look of analog watches. I've got a couple others here that I want to show you, but today it's all about the Timex. And this is my first foray into a slightly more expensive watch that I've personally bought. I've been gifted some fun watches, well, a couple of fun watches in the past. This is the first mechanical watch that I have personally purchased. It's a 41mm watch. Now, right off the bat, it's a big watch for my wrist size. I've got pretty dainty wrists, I guess. They're small. And the reason I got it in the 41mm size is because I really wanted the date stamp. When I was looking for a watch in a certain budget that I had in mind, this is the only Timex edition that fit within the budget and had the date stamp in there. Well, it also was solar powered, and that was the other thing that I was really looking forward to in terms of trying to have that in a watch, along with water resistance and a few other neat features. It's stainless steel. It's not the titanium version, which runs for a couple $100 more than what this watch is. It's got a sapphire glass on it, so it's a little bit clearer, and it's a lot more scratch resistant, which I think is really great in a field watch. The whole idea for me in terms of going with a field watch, this is my casual watch when I'm not at work, and definitely on the weekends and in my active lifestyle. On the weekends where I tend to be hiking quite a bit or being outdoors, I wanted a watch that I could just trash a little bit and not care if it got damaged. It's a solar powered movement, and we'll talk about the movement in a second here. It's a screw type crown, which I think is really cool. It's a little bit different, and I'm not going to change anything on the watch because I've got it set. But you can pull this out, change the date, and then change the time as well. And you just screw it back in. It's got a NATO style strap that comes with it. It's made out of recycled material according to the website, and 100 meters of water resistance. This is the back of the watch. This is crown here as well. You can see slightly different than the other Timex crowns. This is the North edition. One of the reasons I went with this aesthetic as well is because of the mountains and the trees on the crown. And it is solar powered, so the idea is that you leave it out in the sun for a couple of minutes or a little while, and the battery is charged for effectively 4 months. So it's perpetual in the sense that if you're outdoors quite a bit, in theory, you shouldn't have to recharge the watch by sitting out in the sun very often, if at all. The 2 weeks that I've had this so far, I would have to say that that is very true. When I got it in the box, it was completely dead. I put it out in the sun, and probably a good 3 hours, just given the fact that I was sitting in the box. And you could see the dial in the first 5 minutes just kind of flicking back and forth as I was trying to charge up. And after probably 20-30 minutes, it was moving normally, but I'd give it a good solid blast of just 3 hours out in the sun, just to make sure that it got powered up. Now, Timex is typically known for Indiglo in their watches, where you push the crown and the back lights up. Because this watch is solar powered, and the Indiglo, in my understanding, takes up a lot of power or a lot of juice, it doesn't work on the solar powered movement, or the Indiglo wouldn't work on the solar powered movement here. So I still wanted some luminescence, and this watch does. We're going to just take a quick look at it. It's quite bright when you do get sun on it, which I think is fantastic. Give it a good blast of light like so. It is a lot brighter, this luminescence, than what shows in the camera here, just because I've got so much ambient light in terms of recording right now. But you can see that the luminescence really does come out. This watch runs for 229 Canadian dollars, or 166 US dollars at the time of this video. I purchased it on Amazon because my budget was around 150 Canadian dollars, and Amazon had just a fire sale on these watches randomly for one day. I ended up picking up mine for 160 Canadian dollars in total. A few of the reasons why I picked this Timex watch over other Timex watches out there, because there are cheaper alternatives within the Timex lineup, especially the Expedition lineup. You can easily pick up a $50, $60 watch that has the date and a few of the other features like Indigo. The reasons for this watch in particular for me, though, was I really wanted solar-powered movement, number one. Number two, I like the upgraded sapphire glass. So it not only is that clearer, it's a lot more heavy-duty or a lot more scratch-resistant, and I tend to be quite rough with this watch when I'm hiking and being outdoors and things like that. And then the other reason was the increased water resistance as well. This is 100-meter water resistance. I'm jumping into the ocean. And if I ever make it back down to the Caribbean someday, this is the watch that I will bring with me. One of the other reasons I went for this watch is the quartz watches. Quartz movement watches from Timex are loud. They have a loud ticking noise. Not really discernible in my opinion throughout the day, but if you leave it beside your bedside, it is audible. Solar powered movement is absolutely silent. But the movement itself, let's see, as it gets to the 12 here, you'll notice that the second dial is consistently off the mark. And it's nothing wrong with its ability to keep time. It's just how Timex watches are. It starts syncing up eventually with the outer dial and actually hitting the seconds and then going off again. And I think it's just what you get for a watch in this budget range. And right around the 30-second mark, it'll sync up again, and then it'll lose it. So if you're really finicky about that kind of stuff, then this watch is probably not for you. It eventually syncs back up again with each of the second markers here. So that's just something to consider when you are looking at the Timex watch. But it does kind of bug me that it doesn't line up the seconds from time to time if I'm really looking at it. As a reference to keeping time and keeping track of the date, this watch is more than adequate in my opinion. The watch does sit a little bit higher on the wrist than I personally would like. It has quite a profile. So it does feel like it's sticking out. It's for a couple of different reasons. A, the strap is looped in on itself. Just this NATO style of strap is like that. Also, as you can tell from the watch body, it's quite deep, quite thick, or quite high. A little bit thicker than I used to. Hasn't really bugged me. It does feel like I have something solid on my wrist when I'm out and about with this watch. I'm not a watch enthusiast. A lot of YouTubers out there do talk about this watch and how, when it comes to field watches and mechanical movement, apparently this watch is really, really good bang for buck. I don't really have anything else to compare to, and I clearly like the watch, and I have decided to pass on the watch. And for one very glaring reason, and I've read a few reviews about this as well, this strap that comes with the watch is made from recycled materials, and it's
on a field watch, so I would expect that the strap would be able to put up with some level of abuse. You might be able to see here, the strap is showing wear and tear very quickly. I've only had it for a couple of weeks, and already the green is starting to peel away from the black edging underneath here. What I've read online is for folks who've had this particular strap on this watch for longer, it just fades away completely to black and they end up replacing the strap entirely, which I guess isn't necessarily a problem considering that you're primarily paying for the watch itself. But for me, I didn't feel like spending additional money on a strap and spending the time to try and get a color coordinated strap. Straps can easily go anywhere between $5 to $25 to more expensive, as the world is your oyster, so to speak, with respect to the range available for these kinds of replacement straps. But to me, if you're going to be paying this kind of money for a watch, I would really prefer that it is the entire package and has the capability of living up to the intent behind it, which is very much a field watch. So general wear and tear, absolutely expected, but I would expect at least maybe a few months of hard activity to give that kind of tear. I've worn it on one short hike and just around the house, primarily the last couple of weeks, and it is already showing that. So I can see how very quickly, at least with the way I am using the watch, and maybe I'm doing too much with it, although I can't imagine how, this will fade away very quickly. And that is the major reason I've decided to pass on a watch. It's a great watch in itself. However, I think I'm going to hold out for a colorway that I perhaps resonate with, but more importantly, just a strap that's either leather or has enough review backing that clearly show that the strap is going to be fine. It's probably a minor thing that I'm maybe making a big deal out of it, more so than it actually should be. But I've got a certain budget in mind and I'd like to stay in that, and spending additional dollars above and beyond the budget doesn't seem quite right to me at this point in time. Great watch otherwise. I am interested in the other colorways. Like I said, I'm going to take a look at the other strap, and in the future, I may very well pick up another Timex watch. If not, I'll keep my eye posted out for other field watches that fit within the 150 Canadian dollar range, have a lot of bang for buck in terms of features. And don't get me wrong, the Timex does, from what I understand, based on my limited research, and again, I'm not a watch enthusiast, you do get a lot of higher spec features in this watch for the price point. So from that perspective, I think it is actually quite good. And a lot of the people who have reviewed the watch tend to like the watch so much that they don't mind paying the extra for replacing the strap, which they do anyways. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you've got the Timex Field North Post Expedition watch in this watch particular, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of it. We're a couple of months away from Black Friday, so I'm sure there'll be some really good deals, even particularly on the Timex watches. Have a wonderful day, and bye for now.